Hi, beautiful souls. Okay. Woo! I'm here to, oh my God. I'm like, I have a 45-minute time limit today. And as y'all know, I like to talk. I go on for a very long time, especially because I love to talk about really, like deep, intense topics. Scorpio sun here. Hi, beautiful beings. And so today I'm going to talk about the spirituality of healing our money shit. I'm really excited to talk about this, and I'm feeling intimidated by the time limit I have set for myself. But it's because we need to keep this concise. We need to stay on track, Amy. Anyway, and I know all of you don't have like an entire hour to listen to me talk 5 days a week. So, okay, healing our money shit. The time has come. The time has long been here, but especially like truly, I don't know about all of you, but I feel like truly August 1st, there was a line drawn in the sand where it is a requirement now that we release our old way of doing things and we step into a new paradigm of operation. And that includes like earth-based systems, including money. So it is really time to heal our money shit. Because as we all know, as we can all deeply feel within ourselves, this is one of the main tools of hijackery of the false matrix that keeps us swirling around in these tiny, like infinitesimally small, wounded, broken versions of ourselves. It keeps us apart from the magnitude and the magnificence of all that we truly are and that we very intentionally came here to be. But as with everything, there is no savior that is arriving to, clear away the fiat currencies and usher in the new golden currency where we can all live in 5D bliss together. That is just not the way it's going to work. That being said, I'm extremely optimistic. It's just that we are the saviors, okay? We are the saviors. It has been really intense. Woo la la. I really like your name. It has been really intense. So I deeply believe that we are the saviors. I'm not saying this. I'm just going to provide a caveat. I have no intention of offending anybody who really resonates with Jesus as the Christ, as the savior. I'm not trying to take away from that. What I'm saying when I say that we are the saviors is that we can't hang around in our broken victim stories, continuing to feed into those stories, passively waiting for the second coming of Christ or any savior to come and liberate us from the shackles that we maintain with our own energy and attention. So the shackle I'm talking about today is money. Man, oh man, like where do I even begin? Oh God. I think I'm probably going to have to do a whole big course. P.S. I have a 3-part course called The Light Codes of Money, which was like the culmination of when I really broke through my own money shackles. Like really went from literally never having enough. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I'm not exaggerating. Literally always being in the negative to suddenly having a surplus to the tune of, like, I think the first, like when it really consolidated in my being, I went from not ever having enough to having to like receiving 18,000 Canadian dollars in a month. It was wild. So Light Codes of Money is only $88 plus so it's a 2-part course telling all, like going deep on all this stuff. And then there's, there was like a Q&A Akashic drop-in where I cleared and answered a bunch of people's like personal Akashic questions around money and did some Akashic money clearings for people. It's really good. I could have priced it at so much higher, but I priced it at $88 because if you're in some money fuckery, it probably means you don't have a lot of money to spend, right? So, okay. So if you want to go deeper, that's a really great place to go. And I don't talk about money the same way that other people do. And I'm not a money coach. I'm just telling you the shit that I've realized. So first of all, the first thing that I want to say is that I'm inviting you right now to just like take a deep breath and pause and connect with the actual energy of money. I remember hearing so many times on my own money liberation journey that money is an energy, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't understand. I don't know what you mean. So I'm going to sort of paint the picture for you now, and I invite you, if you're able to tune in right now or come back and listen to the replay when you have some time to tune in to the energy of money. So, money itself, when you remove all of the hijacking and all of the ways that it is used to ensnare us, enslave us, and manipulate us, the pure energy of money is a frequency of beautiful flowing exchange. Traditionally, we have seen money as a physical thing. It's represented in the tarot by the suit of the pentacles. Like we still equate money with coins and bars of gold or whatever, even though it's a long time since we've shifted into the digital age where money is arbitrary numbers in a virtual pocket dimension called the internet. Most of us don't use physical cash anymore, and sometimes we do, but it's generally in quite small amounts. So first of all, we need to shift our perception of money away from being physical. It is not a physical thing that you are amassing. And when you can release that and soften that, it becomes so much easier to engage with it, because it was never physical to begin with. You have to understand, it was never physical. That was always a false manipulative overlay. The creation of coins for exchange was something to separate us from the actual energy of money and to fixate us on a limited, finite resource, because gold coins are not a resource, are they? They're arbitrary things. Yes, gold has value, but why? It's arbitrary. It's arbitrary. The actual energy of money is the energy of exchange. And I would liken it to the energy of our blood. It is much more like water and plasma than it is like hard physical items. So when we think about our blood, it has like platelets and red blood cells and white blood cells, whatever. Let's just focus on the red blood cells because they are the deliverers of oxygen and other nutrients, right? So mainly oxygen though. So we need oxygen to survive. And that's the part where money gets really like kind of fucked up for us, because we live in this system where we need money to survive, where, I just paid a very sizable bill last night and watched my accounts go beep, it's just the reality that we're in. So we can equate money with our red blood cells, but with our whole entire circulation. So there is a physical component to it. It relates to our physical lives, and it's like the interchange between like each other and the energy that we circulate with each other, and then our own physical needs. But it is much more like plasma, where it actually flows freely. It's also very similar to electricity. It flows like you cannot collect and bank up electricity forever and large, huge amounts of electricity. Why would you do that? You are flowing it freely through your circuits. Your circuits stay healthy. Your circuits stay open. If you bank it up, it tends to sort of, it's also like water in that it kind of stagnates. Like the energy of it starts to stagnate and putrefy if you don't let it flow freely. So let's just tune into that for a minute. Let's tune into the reality of like our blood. And the way that it flows freely through our bodies and it delivers oxygen, and our whole bodies receive the oxygenation, and the whole thing circulates and flows. That is what money is supposed to be like. And when we fixate on money itself, we start hating our own life force energy and the web of connection that flows between us. Money is just a symbolic representation of that energy exchange. The goal is not to abolish money. Like, I remember a couple years ago, oh God, it was so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Oh God. During the campaign for the American presidency, the Trump-Biden campaign, there were all these very well-meaning online entrepreneurs who make a very healthy income bashing capitalism. And I was like, okay, well, if that isn't the pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is. And I believe in capitalism. All these systems are stupid. First of all, they're false constructs. But what I believe in is the right to offer your gifts, offer your true life force essence, the truth of who you are, the things that you are naturally encoded to share here, and receive compensation in exchange, to receive energy that fills you up and, fills your coffers, so to speak, and allows you to then, spend it on something else, like honor yourself with a home that suits you, honor yourself with food that nourishes you, honor yourself by being able to pay for activities that expand your consciousness, that bring you joy, that increase your pleasure in life. I believe in that. And so therefore, I believe that in the systems that we understand, like capitalism isn't a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing to be able to receive money for what you offer, for what you do. It's a receptive thing. When we give from that space, when we can decondition money from the matrix, we feel it as basically it's the circulation of love and appreciation. What we are doing is we are loving and appreciating ourselves, and we are loving and appreciating each other. We are showing up in our power, and we are allowing our power to be loved by others who resonate with our power. And then we share our love and appreciation with others who are showing up in their power, whatever that is. But the way that we experience money now is we think of it as this physical thing, or this weird abstract digital thing that we have no connection to at all whatsoever. And we get fixated on the feeling of having to pay our bills, the feeling of having to go to work and work at a job that we hate and sucks our life force out. That was a big one for me. That was a really big one that I fought against for a long time. My inner rebel just kicked up such a fuss, but I could never really move past that point for a long time. All I knew was it felt wrong. I knew I was here on earth for a reason. I knew it. I've always known it. I didn't know what that reason was, but I knew that I needed to fulfill it. And I knew that going to, graduating high school and going to university and becoming a teacher, because my parents were both teachers, made me feel like I should just die. And that probably sounds insanely privileged, but that is how I felt in my authentic experience. It was a feeling of like I said to my son, my 17-year-old son the other day, he was telling me about how the guidance counselor brought him in, and he was like, you could go to university. You just need 2 more university level high school credits before you graduate. And he was like, no. I love him so much. He was like, no, thank you. And he was like, are you sure? No, thank you. And I was saying to Francis, I was like, it's like they put us in prison from the age of 4 onwards. Younger if you have to go to daycare 5 days a week so that your parents can work. They put us in prison, and then they say, if you play your cards right, you could extend your prison stay by 5 more years and increase your debt exponentially so that you are enslaved to this very prison system for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So I railed against that so hard in my youth, but I didn't know what the next step was or the solution. I just felt very disempowered to it. And for me, it turns out that the next step in the solution was to really, really, really come to understand the energy of money and understand my own flowing relationship with money. And from there, create a business where I offer my services and receive money. And again, I'll say, I know everybody's not templated to start a business. And some of us are literally here to be undercover agents within the matrix, within the systems, and work incredible healing magic from within. But regardless of whether you feel like you have an internal entrepreneur or not, you don't have to be limited in your receipt of money. So what we have to do is basically identify what money symbolizes for us, because to hate money itself and to say money is the root of all evil is the same thing as hating your own blood. First of all, I think taxation is extortion. I'm just going to say it. I don't believe in taxes. I think it is totally an extortion. Ask me, 6 or 7 years ago, I totally believed in taxes. I thought everybody had to pay them. Now I think it's absolute, utter and total bullshit. And the analogy is, imagine if the ruling elites said that you owed them, like, let's just say, I don't know, like 500 mils or maybe a liter of your blood every quarter or every month or whatever, on some kind of arbitrary schedule that they created. Because we need your blood. We need your blood to fund things. Mostly it's going to fund our fucking blood parties and our wars, our blood wars. But we're going to tell you that it goes towards building roads and paying for, like your water purification systems and whatever, we're going to tell you it goes towards a bunch of municipal things, and we're going to let all of that infrastructure just go to shit. But we're going to take your blood, and you're going to have to work to get some of your blood back. You're going to have to work at things that we tell you to do. And then we're going to give you a small amount of your blood back. But then we're going to say that you need to give your blood, you need to use your blood to pay for your food, and you need to use your blood to pay for your shelter and whatever. And we're going to tax your own blood. The way that we feel about money is the same thing as hating our blood. Why would we hate our blood? Why would we hate money? It is the natural current of energetic love and appreciation and deep, I'm going to use the word Christed because I don't know what else to use, but Christed internal power, meaning our actualized, realized, God source connected power. That is what money actually is. That's what it actually is. And you can literally source it from the source connection, from your connection all the way up to the holographic central sun, all the way down into the golden heart of the mother. You source the energy that the hologram turns into, money for you that way. You don't source it from an outside job. You don't source it from other people. It's very hard for us to disentangle ourselves, very confusing. But I'm telling you that money is not I mentioned on my podcast some episodes ago, this book called Busting Loose from the Money Game. It's a really good book. I listened to it 3 times, even though I had already integrated all those principles. It was just he laid it out really well, and I highly recommend it. But we are in a hologram. The hologram produces our experience of money. It produces that experience of energy flow. We don't need to be codependent to external sources for our money. But it is a process to extricate ourselves from this. So in order to extricate ourselves, first of all, we have to look at what money represents to us. And we have to stop hating money, because that, oh God, I mean, that is the genius of their system, is to have us hating money and resenting the existence of money, so that we're pushing it away and we're contracting around it. And when it comes in, we're like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm just going to spend it on whatever, like I've seen so many people do that. I've done it myself. I used to have a pattern of like, I don't know, feeling, it would almost border on like an entitlement, but I think it's because I just knew deep down that it is our birthright to be resourced. And so I felt angry and frustrated that I wasn't being resourced. But then when money came in, I had all these like wounds around responsible ways to be responsible with money. And what does that actually mean? It means that like you're behaving properly within the fucking system that they created for us. That you're like, oh, you're putting so much money aside for a rainy day, and you've got these savings, and you're safe within the little tiny egg of resource that they've convinced you that you have access to and you're allowed to have. And that's just not fucking the way it works at all. So then I would like get this money and feel this rebelliousness against that programming to be responsible. And I would just like want to buck the system. But because I was in a reactionary phase, I would just like spend it on a bunch of things that were not necessarily in actual alignment. So in a sense, I wasn't being a responsible steward for money because I was acting out of my wounding. But again, it's a process for all of us. It's very much a process. It's not something that we just like figure out overnight and we're just magically emancipated overnight. So we have to take what money symbolically represents to each of us individually. When you say you hate money, or you feel resentment about money, or you feel resentment about paying bills, maybe you don't hate money, maybe you just feel always in a space of scarcity, like fear that the money's going to run out, fear, I don't know, whatever, fear that the economy is going to collapse. We have so many fears being activated right now. You have to isolate and get closer to what money is representing for you. What is that fear? So I'll just offer my own examples again to help, but just know that everybody's going to have a different experience, a different relationship. So, I just had a money trigger this morning. And what I was able to like really quickly isolate, what is triggering me. So basically a long time ago, like back in 2013, my dad co-signed a personal line of credit for me when I went to midwifery school, because you work like crazy and you don't get paid for 4 years. So I had this personal line of credit. My dad is a co-signature. And last night I paid a large bill out of that personal line of credit, and it emailed my dad because it's a larger sum than I usually spend from that account. And so it emailed my dad to like notify him. And then my mom forwarded the email to me, and I'm like, I'm an adult woman. Like, why? Like, get out of my money business, Although they weren't like the problem wasn't my parents. It was just the trigger that I needed to see. It's still the part of me that still feels rebellious. So what I'm interacting with, it's not money. It's my sense of personal sovereignty, autonomy, and freedom. It activates a rebelliousness within me. For other people, it might activate like a huge contraction and a fear and panic and like fear that you're going to hit bankruptcy. You're going to die under a bridge in a box. Like you're just going to dishonor your whole family, and you're, like We have so many spinning fears around the topic of money, but none of them actually have to do with money. They all have to do with a sense of being enslaved and imprisoned. So what we're actually emancipating ourselves from are the shackles that we continue to participate in. And what I mean is, every time that we get triggered around the topic of money, and the triggers can be really subtle sometimes. Every time that we get triggered and we react out of that triggeredness, we end up reinforcing our own shackles. They don't even really have to do the work for us anymore. We're so self-policing with all this shit. So, for example, if I had, I don't know how I could have reacted out of my trigger. Let's say that I just felt so much shame that my parents could see any of my expenses that I wanted to hide it from them. Like, I mean, that is still a thing in my mind. Like, I totally used to feel like somehow my sisters both really fit in. They were raised by the same parents and they both really fit into the system very, very well. They're very comfortable functioning within the system. And I was always the black sheep, big surprise. And a lot of that was like, I carried a lot of shame around that, just around being like unable to just, put my head down and fit into the system and make my parents proud within the confines of the system. So let's say that trigger was still super active in me. It's obviously active because I just got triggered literally just before starting this live. But let's say it was really, really, really active. Like I didn't have any awareness of it or any control over it. I might have reacted by going into panic mode and scouring my accounts to, close down any expense, shut down any expense that I don't need to have, tightening my budget, maybe pulling my daughter out of, I can put her in Montessori school, which I'm extremely happy about, that I have the ability to do that. Maybe I would have pulled her out of Montessori school and just been like, I can't afford it. And like, I can't have my parents judging me. Like I need to look responsible. These are literally thoughts I had like as little as 3 to 4 years ago. Probably honestly like 2 years ago, honestly. If I had reacted in that way, I would be reinforcing my own shackles. But instead, I just kind of like took a deep breath and I let my mom know like, it's fine. I just paid a big bill. Don't worry about it. I made a mental note, like go to the bank later and see if you can have your dad taken off the personal line of credit. But even if I can't, it doesn't matter. Everything is fine. I am free because I choose to be free, because I receive money on my terms and I'm always expanding that, always working on expanding it. Like I'm by no means rich, but I definitely receive more money than I did when I was wounded around it. But I'm always working on my money emancipation, like the spiritual reclamation of myself and my right to receive energy that sustains me so I can be here and do what I incarnated to do. So I'm working through that. I'm gently releasing my own shackles, like bit by bit, chain by chain, layer by layer, because again, it's always a process. And then the other thing that I do very mindfully, so another way I could have reacted, very much like I described that I used to react, is I could have like felt so resentful and angry that my parents, like I'm 40, you guys, I'm 40. And my parents were like, whoa, we saw this unusual activity in your personal line of credit. Like, I'm 40. Right? So I could have like felt so triggered by it that I then went and rebelliously was like, it's my fucking money and I'll do whatever I want. And just, spent it on something just for the sake of like instant gratification of reclamation of that temporary little like hit of personal power. But that is still a reinforcement of my own shackles in order to dissolve these shackles and liberate ourselves, we have to recognize them and choose truly outside of them. Choose outside of them. The Daily Devin, you just said, I just had an argument with my husband this morning and it triggered me so severely. You coming on live is perfect timing. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I mean, I think we all oh man, these days, and then there's inflation, right? We all have our money wounds being brought to the surface. That was another thing. I used to then project that kind of stuff onto my husband and play out the same patterns with my husband and feel like I needed to ask him for permission to do things. And then I was like, whoa, I'm putting him in this position. And he's just taking, he's like, okay, well, I guess I'm the decider. And then I was like, what? No, this is not how this works. But I didn't even have to have a conversation with him about it. I just decided internally that this is between me and God. That everything that I want to experience in this life, everything that I want to manifest is between me and God. I personally don't talk to my husband about the financial decisions that I make unless they actually involve him. If we are deciding to, we're possibly going to start a side business together, we will discuss that. If we were going to make a big investment that really affects our whole family, we will discuss that. But apart from that, he earns his money, I earn my money. We both, carry our weight. We put money towards our shared expenses. And he buys what he chooses to do with his money. He's a car person. He loves cars. He buys used cars and tinkers around with them and plays with them and has them for a while and then, swaps it out for another one. And I'm like, have at it. Go for it. It's your money. I don't care. Do what you want. And I just spend my money on what I want to spend my money on. That's what really works for us. That way, neither of us is feeling like anybody else can has a say. Anybody else can say, no, you can't do this thing that you want. So anyway, that was kind of a sidetrack. But I got triggered and I quickly kind of recognized it and worked through it. And I'm at this point where I really appreciate my triggers. Not that they feel good. They don't feel good. But I appreciate them because I'm like, woo, that's another spot where I'm still stuck. I'm still hooked into the matrix. And I get to now work on unhooking it. And just love myself through it so much and thank the hologram for bringing it to my attention, for letting me know that, hey, it's the hologram loves me and is like, hey girl, you're stuck here. Not sure if you're aware, just want to put it on your radar. And instead of being like, bah, 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 I'm like, whoa, yeah, that feels intense. Thank you so much, hologram. You got my back. So now what I'm doing is, with the money that I have available, and I definitely don't have so much money available that I can just do whatever I want. I definitely am still in a place on my money journey where I have to think about and really measure out, what do I want to do with this? What are my priorities? But I come at it from a place of not restricting myself in terms of what's responsible or what's the logical thing to do or what would other people approve of or what does somebody else want me to do. And I also am not coming from a place anymore of I'm in charge of my own money and I can do whatever I want. I really, really try to just take a deep breath and feel what is the next step of expansion for me? And if I understand money as my own form of currency, in the whole Anunnaki story, they say that the Anunnaki came down because they wanted to mine our planet for gold. And I have this suspicion that what they were actually mining our planet for was the resource of our attention, was the resource of our, the currency, the powerful currency of our attention, because we are manifestors. We are manifestors. So I try to understand money as an extension, or I do understand, and I try to foster that relationship as money as an extension of the powerful currency of my consciousness. And when I funnel it in the direction that I want to go, that I as a whole person want to go, even if it's just in small amounts, in small ways, I grow. And I can like truly attest to this. I can truly attest that, there's so much I want to say, but so much, and I don't have the time to say it all, but my money journey on this path started back when really it was after Killian died. And I was like a shell of myself. I was in such intense, constant agony and heartbreak. The grief was overwhelming. And the first thing that I really invested in, I think, was that Akashic Records training. I can't quite remember, because around the same time, I also invested in a 6-week group coaching container around starting your spiritual business. But I think the Akashic Records came first, because I knew that I wanted to do readings for people and help bring about healing. I just knew I needed to go on this path. And I honestly worked as a room attendant at a local non-chain resort. So it wasn't like a fancy resort. Not that fancy resorts pay their room attendants very well anyway. But it was, it was okay. It was an okay resort. I wore this horrible gray polyester outfit. It was just brutal. And I cleaned hotel rooms. And I could only do it 2 days a week. I tried to do it 3 days a week, but I just it took so much energy to be present with the grief. Or even if I wasn't trying to be present, I was just too tired. I couldn't do it. I was crying all the time. I would literally be crying while I was cleaning people's toilets. I would be crying while I was making the beds. And it was a perfect job at that time, because I got to do it by myself. Occasionally other people would pop in, but I had space to cry. But I could only work 2 days a week. And as you can imagine, I was making minimum wage. I was not making ends meet at all. And I had a ton of debt, over $100,000 in debt. But I knew at that time, I could feel it, that Akashic Records training, I had to take it. I had to. And by all logical measure, that was a bad idea. If I was functioning by logic, if I had kept myself ensnared in the system, if I had fed my shackles, I don't know where I would be right now. I wouldn't be here. I honestly don't know where I would be. Probably midwifing and being very miserable and repeating a cycle that I watched my mom do, which is work yourself to the bone at a service job, putting everybody else before yourself, and just absolutely emaciating yourself and being too exhausted to have anything left to give your family, because you believe somehow that's what you have to do, that it makes you a good person or something. I don't know. I would still probably be there. But I signed up for that Akashic Records course on my credit card, and I honestly didn't know how I was going to make the next payment, because I didn't have hardly any room on my credit card. I had enough room to make that one payment. And I don't know how I made the payments. I don't even remember how, but it is what happened. I didn't magically start charging for readings. I don't remember. I just don't remember where the money came, but it did. I didn't default on any of the payments, but man, I took my credit card right to the max edge. It was an edge to make that investment. And then the next one was that business course, which I think was 3 payments of $333 or something like that. And again, it felt oh my God, I'm crazy. I would have heart palpitations. I felt so, oh God, it put me right up against the edge of all of my money shit. And yet here I am now. And I say this, of course, because I am enrolling for my program, The Answer. And I know, first of all, I feel like for what you get out of it, like it keeps yielding to me every day. I'm thinking about it literally all the time. Literally. I am not exaggerating. And it keeps yielding more and more codes, content, things that I'm supposed to share. I can genuinely say that the amount that you get for this is like it. Oh my God, I could be charging 3 times this much and it would be well worth that price. But that's not really an integrity for me where I'm at on my journey right now. So I had to find the sweet spot where I feel like, this might be an edge for people, but your life on the other side of this 5 months is going to be drastically different in the most magical, soul-connected way. So there has to be like a valuation of that. And I need to receive an energy exchange so that I can hold the amount of focus and the amount of faith and the amount I can pour into all of you to the extent that I truly feel flowing through me. Like if I've noticed, because I've undercharged for a lot of my things, I've noticed that what happens is there's this big bubbling amount of energy and then I feel bad for people and their money shit and I undercharge and then it kind of like narrows the pipes and only so much of the energy can come through. And it's not me like choosing, it's kind of like, God, it's a mismatch. There has to be a match. So I'm saying all of this, of course, because I'm enrolling and because I know that for some people, I know that where you're at right now, the price, you can't even make it work. And I want you to know that I see you, I recognize, I love you. I am not desiring to create a sense of FOMO or anything like that. You are nonetheless powerful. You're just at a certain place in your money, emancipation journey where the shackles are kind of tight right now, but you can free yourself. You can free yourself. And that where you're at right now with money doesn't determine your amount of power, your actual true power that you have access to. You just have to choose your power. And basically what you do is you choose it over and over and over and over and over again, as I outlined. You continue to recognize the shackles, you see the triggers, you thank them, you say like, what am I actually responding to here? And how do I respond outside of that story? How do I see the story that I have and then respond from a different story? Or from outside of that story, and start funneling the powerful currency of my attention to the reality that I want to be experiencing. How do I feed the hologram what I want to be experiencing? And sometimes that is genuinely the decision, like, whoa, okay, I already have a lot of debt, I'm kind of maxed out. Recognizing that if I were to make an investment right now, it'll probably like trigger me into like such a state of scarcity and survival that I won't even be able to receive the information in this program. Sometimes that is the best decision to make. And other times it is to see like, okay, by all, like if I was to talk about this with my partner or my parents or my financial advisor or all the people that are really, really locked into the matrix, they would say that this is a crazy move, but I can feel in my soul that this is what I need to do. I need to move in this direction. And I understand what Amy's saying. Of course I need to funnel energy in that direction. I need to funnel energy in that direction. Like I need to funnel my energy there. And I trust that my life is going to change, even though I feel very activated and triggered and kind of like, whoa, about it. And for others, you just know it's a no-brainer. And you're like, there are truly others. There are a lot of people I work with who I'm sure they have money wounds, but they're just in a different financial situation where they're like, oh yeah, like I have this money. I can just make this investment. But you have to listen to what your soul is saying. You have to listen. How do we determine between our mind fears and our soul? Well, the easiest way is that your mind feels contracted. Your mind wants to like pros and con shit. And it never works. Your mind believes that there is a right answer. There's no right answer. Even if you choose to invest from a place, whether it's in my program, The Answer, or it's in something else that's calling you. If you choose to invest from a place where you're like, I don't feel totally healed in this, and part of me is freaking the fuck out, and then you kind of like collapse under that, that wasn't the wrong choice. You will grow from that. How do I know? Because I've done it. I've done it. I've totally invested from that place of thinking like, oh my God, this person has the answer. Hilariously, it was always in like expensive money programs from people that are making millions of dollars online. And I'm like, they're going to tell me how. And it never works out that way. At least not for me. But if we invest from that place of like feeling like, contracted and scary and whatever, and then we kind of temporarily collapse our energy, it's still not the wrong choice. There is no right or wrong choice. There's just like, what do you want to funnel your energy towards? And what do you want to unplug your energy from? So you want to unplug your energy from, if you desire to be sovereign and free and heal your relationship with money so that you can, receive it and give it in a flowing, amazing, reciprocal way that feels juicy and good and totally supportive, then what you want to unplug from is the idea that there is a responsible way of handling your money. Let's replace responsibility with the concept of stewardship. There is a stewardship piece where we have this beautiful resource, but it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing as stewardship over the currency of your attention. Your attention is literally the gold. It is so powerful. The place that you funnel your attention is the thing that's going to bloom in your hologram and come back to you. Okay? It is the most powerful currency you have. It is like money is just a manifestation of your attention. So you want to be a steward of your attention. You don't want to funnel your attention towards shit that doesn't matter to you and that you don't want to amplify. Are you going to feed the fire of tired, old, responsible, like broken system stories of, saving for a rainy day and being a responsible investor and, I don't know. I mean, I don't want anybody to think I'm trying to lead you astray. Like I'm trying to lead you into a danger zone. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's just, you can feel it in yourself when you're staying small and safe within the system because the system tells you that it's dangerous on the other side. But actually it's not dangerous. Actually, it's thrilling as fuck. It's super powerful. You tap into like rich resources of like, the source creator and then the hologram itself, the source code of the hologram. And you create differently. You create from a place of like profound sovereignty and self-actualization. The powers that be do not ever want you to do that. They never want you to do that. So they're going to make you afraid of surprise expenses. They're going to make you afraid of not being able to pay your bills. And they're going to make you think like, whoa, I need to always have so much in savings. That's a responsible thing to do. Or, it's hard for me to even grab examples because everybody's money wounds are basically variations of the same wound, but they play out differently. So some of us just naturally buck and are like, savings, what the fuck is that? And just spend everything. And others are like, I must save, I must hoard, I must save. I can't have credit card debt. I'll die. I could talk about this forever. And I think I'm late for a call. And I feel like I'm just getting started. I don't know if I should maybe just like make Healing Our Money Ship Part 2 tomorrow or something. I was going to talk about something else, but let me know. Comment below if you want me to organize my thoughts a little bit better and talk in a more structured way about healing our money shit tomorrow. Or if you're like, I got what I need, Amy, let me know in the comments below. I deeply appreciate it. I feel like I just yelled at you all for like probably an hour again. It's so typical of me. I love you so much. I believe in you so much. What are the parting thoughts I want to offer? I think it is the reminder, it's an extension of what I was saying 2 days ago on my live about reclaiming this realm. And I was complaining about calendars. And then yesterday, or no, it was maybe the same live. Anyway, I was talking about the realization that we don't actually need to emancipate ourselves from the false matrix in order to be okay. Our work here is the process of emancipating ourselves. But it's not from a place of like, oh my God, I have to get off of this, like these meat hooks. Otherwise I'll die. Otherwise, blah, blah, blah. Like that is still playing into those trauma fields, right? It's okay that we're still on the meat hooks as we go through the process of recognizing those hooks and pulling them out and reclaiming ourselves from our powerful center, where in this case, we spend money from a place of true internal alignment of like, what direction do I want to move in my life? What is important to me? Where do I want to channel and flow my resources? The resources of my attention, the resources of my thoughts, the resources of my time, the resources of like my physical doingness, the resources of my beingness, the resources of my money, the resources of my social engagement. Where do I want to put these things for me? Not in reaction and response to the conditioning and programming that I've received, but like where I actually want to go. This is the way that we liberate ourselves and simultaneously heal the false matrix system so that it can't keep doing this to us or to future generations. So we're very powerful and there is no urgency, but also like this is what we came for. So we need to do it. So please recognize when you're playing into the system, recognize when you are reinforcing the shackles yourself by playing into those small limitations that were placed upon you and programmed within you. And love yourself and forgive yourself. Give yourself so much grace and just soften those shackles. Just soften them. Link by link, just dissolve them gently. You've got this. And I love you. And I will see you tomorrow.